With the COVID-19 outbreak, churches have had to quickly adapt to the new circumstances. Previous to the outbreak, many weren't prepared for something like this. The restrictions being put on gatherings have greatly affected churches in Columbus and around the world. Church staff have been working especially hard to get things ready each Sunday. They are having to adapt to these changes, and their staff do too, including staff member Rebecca Malburg from the Ridge.
Yep, my name's Becca Malburg, and I'm the communications director at the Ridge. So usually it's kind of managing our social media, managing our newsletter that goes out every week. And then we do a bunch of events and groups and stuff too. So I'm kind of the manager of like we keep a calendar where everything is, and then we say like maybe on this week we're promoting Easter and Moms of Preschooler Easter egg hunt and this, and then next week we're going to talk about those things, but also Celebrate Recovery, which is a group that meets at our church too. So kind of managing, so we're not talking about 10 things all on the same week. We try to spread things out and stuff. Now, this current world, my role, I'm kind of doing a lot of managing anything that's being communicated out. So when we're telling people to invite friends for Easter, kind of giving the language, here's what we'd love for you to do and send out to your friends. Managing any language we're using in announcements too, just to make sure that we're sounding like ourselves and make sure that we're clearly explaining, you're online, we're here, this is how church looks and stuff like that too. So just anything that's getting communicated externally, kind of just managing that. And then social media and newsletter, those are still a part of my world right now as well.
Churches have had to adapt the way they are serving their community. Due to the restrictions being put on gatherings, many have moved their services online to platforms like Facebook and YouTube.
We've moved our services online, and we're pre-recording those going into each week. We're trying to do as much with as few people as possible and as far in advance as possible so that we're not breaking any state rules, any national rules and stuff like that. We want to still spread the word of Jesus, but we don't want to break any rules by any means. So how can we adapt and move online while still doing what we do and what we believe as a church too?
Churches have always been a great source of hope and community within Columbus. During this troubling time, more and more people are turning to them for advice and encouragement.
We've posted on our website recently just to encourage people who attend our church to sign up and say, hey, here's how I can help during this time. And then we've said, if you know somebody who needs help, like, so if a member comes forward and says, yeah, my brother or my neighbor is like either old or in a immunocompromised group or something, how can we be the church to them as well?
There are a lot of people who love to attend church services, but with it all being online, they may not know how to. Some people may not know how to use or how to find the online services that churches are setting up. The Ridge has found a good way to get technology help to these people.
One of the categories that we're asking people to identify that they can help with, so it's everything from I can go get groceries or pick up medicine for people to I know enough about technology that I could help somebody get rolling on that. And surprisingly, some of our members that I know are in those higher age brackets are the ones that I see interacting in our Facebook comments and stuff. So I'm like, well, that's good. So something's working. But yeah, that's one of the questions we're asking people is, if you are able to help with technology, let us know that, because we have been reaching out to, I think it's anyone over 60 to say, hey, like, is there anything we can do to help? And that's one of those questions is, do you have the internet access that you need or want to be able to participate? So,
with the ever-changing rules and regulations that come with the rise of the coronavirus, churches are constantly having to adapt and decide whether their system is working and if it will continue to work well in the following weeks or possibly months.
We kind of are evaluating on a week-to-week basis what went well on Sunday, what could we do to improve moving forward. And that's from anything from the perspective of, did the cameras work? Did the audio work? To are we communicating and reaching people that maybe we weren't reaching when we were in just a building? because I mean that audience shifts. It's people that may never step foot in a church, but they're willing to check out a video on Facebook.
The blessing in disguise with all of this is that churches may finally be able to reach some of the people that they never would have otherwise. The ways they are having to adapt in this crisis may just be how they can finally get more people to attend church.
We've always had that perspective of we're trying to reach people who are not in church. Our vision is what we're doing whatever it takes to reach our community for Christ, and that community is people who have maybe never stepped foot in church before, maybe never will. But the great thing about this, the weird blessing in all of this, is that we are able to reach those people that, sure, they'll click a video on a Facebook page, but they're never going to step foot in a church. But this might be a little bit of a bump that they can, a hurdle that they can overcome, that maybe they'll come to church someday, whether that's with us or whether that's with another church.
Many churches have been trying to get their services online before this pandemic started. Finding a way to adapt to the younger audiences that may not be as prone to get up early every Sunday morning has been difficult. Finding a way to reach people that may not usually attend church has always been a struggle. But now they finally have the motivation to get online services and other resources up and running.
So the weird thing in all of this, and I was going to say the lucky thing, but I think it's more a blessing than anything, is that we had just started testing out some streaming capabilities a couple weeks before this all happened. So a young lady that attends our church has been in and out of the hospital being treated for osteosarcoma, which is a type of cancer, a bone cancer. And so not even 2 or 3 weeks before we moved to online only, my dad is one of our camera directors, and he had tested out kind of some live streaming capabilities, and she was able to watch, and we were testing, just what could be seen live and what our audio capabilities were in church and stuff like that. So that kind of became a blessing that we were able to run some tests ahead of it, even if they were in unfortunate circumstances. But we were able to get that feedback, which was really neat, on what worked and didn't work from somebody who was watching from outside of our building. So that was neat. And moving from in-person services to completely online would be the only major thing, because it's completely reshaping how our staff works. But it's funny that what we were already doing as church kind of worked well to transition online. It just meant more work for staff, but we hope that it still looks as much like us as possible.
Hopefully, many churches will take this opportunity to learn new skills and keep online services going after this pandemic is over. The Ridge, in particular, sees this as an opportunity to reach more people outside the usual church gathering and bring them to God.
We just had a meeting today to talk about kind of, like I said, what worked well and what didn't work well. And then next week we're actually having not next week. Tomorrow we're having a conversation to discuss what church looks like after all this. So we've gotten to do some things that we hopefully will be able to continue to do even after we start having in-person services again. Like, how can we continue to stream or live stream our services afterwards? Or we've moved some of our print materials digital for this time. Is that something we can continue to do to cut down on paper and make things more accessible? So I think in all this, we've had to streamline and speed up the process on some changes that we were considering making in the future anyways, and now today is the future. So it's kind of worked out well in that regard, different in that regard, that we are able to, we don't have time to wait around and make some decisions. We've got to make those decisions, and that means that in the future those things will be easier to decide yes or no because they're already happening. So
COVID-19 is a very scary, troubling circumstance that we're having to deal with right now, but maybe something good could come out of it.
It's crazy how the entire world, even just the church population alone, or church staffs and church processes have just had to change overnight, and hospitals have had to change overnight, and grocery stores have had to. So yeah, it's crazy, but there's been some little blessings along the way, which is cool.